I've always been interested in servicing my community in any way that I can, and I'm thankfully have been given that opportunity through the Pride Center. When given the opportunity to construct a memorial for Transgender Day of Remembrance, I was elated. Though this presentation was difficult to go through due to its triggering content, the ability to provide closure for the families of victims, should they ever see this, brings me incredible joy. This presentation will be triggering for many reasons. We will be discussing trans deaths, transphobia, and suicide. If any of these topics cause you discomfort, please feel free to contact Solano Pride Center's confidential counseling line at 707-389-4520. After this presentation is presented by myself and Jamie Els Booth, an incredibly dear friend and the Youth Services Coordinator for the Solano Pride Center, we will switch gears and Colin Amato, the incredible therapist at the center and an overall lovely human being, will give a non-denominational service honoring the lives of those who have passed away. If you yourself know a transgender individual who has passed away due to violence or suicide and you would like them to be included in this service, don't hesitate to let us know in the live chat. With all that said, I would love to begin the presentation and honor the lives we have so tragically lost in 2020. Transgender Day of Remembrance. On November 20th of every year, we gather to remember the incredible trans people who have tragically lost their lives through the means of unjust violence. So often, these individuals are reported incorrectly past death, which means that the number of deaths that I am reporting might be much, much lower than the actual number, which is incredibly harrowing to think about. I hope that through education and exposure, which is partially due to this incredible day and also through organizations like the Solano Pride Center and many, many more, we can honor these individuals with the love they deserve, yet so seldom get. Here are those who have passed on as of November 16th, 2020.
Dustin was a 25-year-old trans man working as a taxi driver who was found shot to death in his car in McAlester, Oklahoma, who was survived by his wife and children. He loved his job and loved to make connections with people.
Nuelisa Luciana Ruiz, known affectionately by friends as Alexa, was a houseless trans woman murdered February 24th after police were called while she used the restroom at a McDonald's in Puerto Rico. She was then stalked and killed hours later by unknown provocateurs who recorded her death. Her friends remember her as a humble and noble person full of love.
Yampy was a trans man from Puerto Rico who was killed on March 5th. He was an avid fan of basketball and the NBA, notably a fan of the Miami Heat. He was found dead only 5 hours after filing an assault report against someone who had harmed him because of his identity.
Monika was a 34-year-old Black trans woman who was the co-owner of an event promotion company while also co-owning the International Mother of the Year pageant system, a system which honors LGBT mothers. Monika was killed in North Carolina on March 18th. She was shot while being treated by medical personnel.
Lexi is remembered by friends for having had a beautiful heart. She was very gifted. She was only 33 at the time of her death, and unfortunately, not much is known about the circumstances surrounding it. She will be remembered for her tolerance and respect for others.
Johanna Metzger, a trans woman from Pennsylvania, was fatally stabbed in Highview Avenue in the city of Baltimore. She is survived by her parents and siblings. However, her family has refused to acknowledge her by her proper name or even by her proper pronouns after even post-mortem, and have made many donations for anti-violence campaigns in her dead name.
Penelope was admitted in a men's prison where her hormonal treatments were denied and was renamed Pablo Diaz Ramirez and was killed by a fellow inmate in the Bayamon Regional Jail.
Layla and Serena were two trans women who were found burned alive in their car after one of their partners had discovered they were transgender and decided to kill them. Their murders were senseless, and fortunately, 2 men were arrested after being connected to the crime.
Nina worked at a fast food restaurant in Seston and was well known in the area. She is remembered by friends as being always happy. She is remembered by friends who she always claimed to be her chosen family.
Haley was a 20-year-old trans woman working in a barber shop when she was murdered by a man who entered the shop claiming he had been told by God to kill the employee because of what she had done against God. She was remembered by friends and family as being a friendly, lively person who would do anything for anyone. Jayne Thompson was a 33-year-old transgender woman who was shot and killed by a police officer on May 9th. It took weeks for legislation to use her correct name and pronouns to refer to her due to her license not matching her identity. She is remembered by friends as being an amazing person and quiet on the surface, but complex and intricate once you got to know her.
Tony was a Black transgender man who was shot by police after they pulled him over. He was requested to leave the vehicle, which he did, and police then opened fire, referring to him as a woman while they killed him. He is remembered by his family and friends as being a kind and loving man who was known online as Tony the Tiger.
Selena was a kind and gentle person who came out as trans to someone she was interested in romantically, who then immediately ended her life out of shame for his own sexual orientation. He is currently in jail and awaiting his trial. This is unfortunately a very common occurrence, and Selena's story is not one that is unheard of.
Dominique was murdered and ultimately dismembered by unknown assailants. She is remembered for her kindness and her ability to be herself in any situation. She was a proud transgender woman and didn't shy away from who she was.
Riah was lured to a park by 3 individuals, where they shot and killed her and left her. Riah's sister has been the frontline activist for this case, speaking out against the police's dead naming, which has resulted in even more animosity towards someone who is already dead because of the side effects of transphobia. She will be greatly missed.
Brian, otherwise known as Egypt by some of their close friends and family, was a transgender person living in Ohio at the time of their death. They used he, him pronouns occasionally, but stated they were fine with any identifier. They are remembered for colorful hairstyles, which brighten the lives of the people around them, known as their unicorn braids, as well as their passion for dance.
Brayla was a 17-year-old trans woman who was killed in Little Rock, Arkansas. Someone on social media took credit for the killing, boasting about how he was paid $5,000 to kill her, though this is unfounded. This is a lens into showing how often trans murders are seen as a positive thing, especially in younger generations.
Merci was a 22-year-old trans woman who was murdered by a 20-year-old man. There are no explicit details about this crime, but she has made ripples regardless for her kindness and being known by friends and family alike as being incredibly friendly. She is especially remembered by her nieces and nephews.
Tatiana was a 22-year-old transgender woman. Unfortunately, there is very little reported about her death, and not many people have reported about her at all, possibly because of dead naming and a lack of social support. She will be deeply missed.
Bree was a Black transgender woman living in Florida at the time of her death. Her death was one of 3 deaths of transgender women that same weekend in the US. She sparked discussion after many news sources incorrectly identified her with her dead name and wrong pronouns.
Shaki was a Black transgender woman from Louisiana. She is remembered for her independence and loyalty to her friends and family. She was also misidentified as a man by police, despite her family ensuring to them she had lived as a woman for many years prior to her death.
Summer was a 24-year-old non-binary person. Summer's family says they were passionate about animals and had worked at urban animal clinic for several years. They had talked about going to veterinary school in Washington State University. Summer will be remembered for their empathy and love for others.
Marilyn was a transgender Latino woman who was very close with her friends and family. Her murder is unsolved, and her loved ones remember her through memories of her singing and dancing, both of which she was very passionate about.
Dior, known as Tiffany by some, though she used both names. Unfortunately, not much is known about her death. She was known for her spunky and kind personality and will definitely be missed.
Keisha was only 24 at her death. Local media, which reported on her death, many news reports simply refused to mention her at all, dead-named her and haven't changed the reports to reflect on her accurately. Her family has made no effort to change this.
Aya was killed while attending a vigil for another person who had been a victim of homicide earlier that week. She is remembered for her kind heart and unfortunately has not been reported on by many mainstream media organizations, so there is a serious lack of information about her case.
He was killed by a minor, so the case is very much shrouded in disinformation and an overall lack of information. She will be very missed.
Ariane is remembered by her family, who adore her and will miss her loving spirit. There are no suspects currently, though her family remains hopeful.
Michelle was a nursing student whose passion lied with helping other people. She was murdered by a group, and it's unclear at this time what the exact details are surrounding the situation, but the suspects are in custody.
Mia was murdered by an acquaintance who was pulled over by police while Mia was suffering from a gunshot wound in the passenger seat. Unfortunately, she did not survive the attack. Mia will be remembered by her friends and family alike.
Felycya was an interior decorator with a passion for people. She ran her own company and enjoyed helping people learn to feel comfortable through the means of redecorating their spaces. She is survived by both her friends and family.
Brooklyn was known by Brooke to friends and was well received by nearly every person she met. She studied cosmetology at a local community college and worked at a call center. She will be greatly missed.
Sara was killed while walking home from work on a late Saturday night. She was a very sweet person and will be remembered by many people, friends and family alike.
Angel was found shot to death in a Motel 6, and there are no leads currently with this case. She is remembered by her friends and family as being kind and loving. A vigil was held for her a few days later, which provided some closure for the family, though they are still holding out for the killer to be found.
While I've only highlighted individuals who have been lost to violent crimes, and again, these are people who have been reported on using their preferred names in some instances. In other instances, they have been reported on falsely, but their preferred names have come forward thanks to friends and family. But there are also many trans people who have not been reported on at all or have been misreported. Because of this, there is no justice served and often no closure for their friends and families. These cases are just as important as the others and deserve to be talked about. Isabella Mia Lofton from Brooklyn, New York, Ellie Che from the Bronx, New York, Drea McCarty from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, an unknown person from Chicago, Illinois, Ashley Moore from Newark, New Jersey, Alice Carter, known by others as Baby Alice from Washington, D.C., Angel Rose Garcia from Hyattsville, Maryland, and Christine Zephyr from Mankato, Minnesota. Suicide is yet another, even less reported cause of death for trans people. Transphobia is often a silent killer and is carried out through less obvious situations than something as flagrant and obtrusive as murder. Unfortunately, there is no way to know the official number, since many people may end their lives while dealing with internal turmoil surrounding their trans identity. This, along with misgendering and dead naming, majorly skews the actual number of trans people who are committing suicide per year. I want to make sure and remember Rukia Isis Beamer from Lakewood, Ohio, Shelly Lynn Rose, her location is not given, but she is in the US. Janelle Ariana Briscoe from Smiths, Alabama. Camilla Maria Concepcion from Los Angeles, California. Alex McRae from St. Louis, Missouri. Emerald Kalayer from Montgomery, Alabama. Daphne Dorman from San Francisco, California. And Corbin Ray Bach from Paducah, Kentucky. So far in 2020, and I have capped this list since the 16th of November. And unfortunately, there have already been more deaths in the very short amount of time between now and then. The amount of unlawful transgender deaths worldwide is 455. Of these deaths, 358 were caused by violent acts, meaning murder, and 47 were suicides. These are only the reported cases. So many transgender individuals are dead named and misrepresented after death. There is a systemic and active genocide of transgender people across the world, and transgender women of color are mainly at risk. It is imperative that we honor and remember those who have passed and try as hard as we can to prevent this list from growing. No more hatred, no more intolerance, no more murders. Again, I want to remind you, if you have someone you know who has passed away as a trans person this year, feel free to leave their name and any other information you would like to leave in the live chat. And we will begin the service. I will go ahead and pass it over to Colin Amato. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Felix. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Wonderful. Well, good evening, everyone. I want to start by thanking Jamie and Felix for inviting me to participate in this live stream in this service. Turn on my camera here. Thank you. I do have some words to say, but I want to keep this not so much about words that I might have prepared for this service tonight. I also have a number of words from those who have passed on before us that will, I believe, do a much better job than I could. I've been reflecting on this evening, and I've been reflecting on this entire week. And a lot came up for me as I meditated on the meaning of today. We are memorializing, we are remembering tragic loss of life. And as we've heard and seen, majority of those done may have begun in the form of bullying, harassment, transphobia. But these insidious things crept their way in and became manifest in the form of the greatest tragedy, the loss of human life, murder, as you saw, in a small percentage, but not small when we think about the loss of one life, to self-injury and suicide. Tonight, myself and Felix and Jamie are speakers for the dead. There are many global spiritual traditions who make it a profound duty upon those of us who are still breathing on this plane of existence. Traditions who encourage us to not forget those who are no longer on this plane with us, to not forget the dead, but rather memorialize them. And the word memorializing does come from the same root for memory, which is why these traditions hold it so sacred to not forget those whom we have lost, but to honor them, cherish them, speak their names, tell their stories, give off remembrance to them. As Felix mentioned, I am the staff therapist at Solano Pride Center. but I also have a background in studying comparative theology, comparative religion, comparative mysticism. So I look at today and what I have to say and my own reflections on the importance of this day, both as a counselor and as a spiritual advisor. From a psychological point of view, grief over those who have gone before us is indeed, we are told, a process. And indeed, when I counsel those who have lost loved ones, we talk about their own individual journey and process with grief. But I want to invoke a different image than just a process. Indeed, as no one in the LGBTQ plus community, no one specifically in the trans community need be remembered, or excuse me, not remembered, reminded that this day, this whole week is an annual remembrance. It is something that goes in cycles, in waves and seasons. And just like the seasons, just like the earth, we head into this time of the year and it is cold and it is barren and it is dark. And sometimes light is so precious to us. Sometimes we take for granted the light that can sometimes be so easily extinguished. From a spiritual point of view, I look at this as an opportunity to speak for the dead as best as I may. And the way that I wish to do this is not to speak of my own words, which you have already heard, but to quote a few passages of sacred scripture, so-called, so considered by some. I am of two traditions. I am, hopefully next year, will be an ordained Swedenborgian minister. It's from a Christian Protestant tradition. I am also a deacon in training in the ecclesiastic Gnostic Catholic Church, which is rather pagan or polytheistic in its origin. So the poetry or the sacred words that I'd like to quote here may be words that can resonate because they are so attuned to us as natural beings, of unique individuals, and also our time here on earth and what might be beyond. Verily and amen, I passed through the deep sea, and by the rivers of running water that abound therein, I came unto the land of no desire, wherein was a white unicorn with a silver collar, whereon was graven the aphorism Linea Virtus Gyrate Universa. Then the word of Adonai came unto me by the mouth of the Magister mine, saying, O heart, that art girt about with the coils of the old serpent, lift up thyself onto the mountain of initiation. But I remembered, yea, then yea, Thale, yea, Lilith. These three were about me from of old, for they are one. Beautiful wast thou, O Lilith, thou serpent woman. Thou wast lithe and delicious to the taste, and thy perfume was of musk mingled with ambergris. Close dost thou cling with thy coils unto the heart, and it was as the joy of all the spring. But I beheld in thee a certain taint, even that there wherein I delighted, and I beheld in thee of the grandsire of the blind worm of slime. I gazed upon the crystal of the future, and I saw the honor of the end of thee. Further, I destroyed the time past and the time to come, had I not the power of the sand glass. But in the very hour I beheld, and I said, O my beloved, O Lord Adonai, I prayed to loosen the coil of the serpent, but she was close fast upon me, so that my force was stayed in its inception. Also, I prayed unto the elephant god, the Lord of beginnings, who breaketh down obstruction. These gods came right quickly to mine aid, and I beheld them, and I joined myself unto them. I was lost in their vastness. Then I beheld myself compassed about with the infinite circle of emerald that encloseth the universe. O snake of emerald, thou hast no time past, no time to come. Verily, thou art not. Thou art delicious beyond all taste and touch. Thou art not to be beheld for glory. Thy voice is beyond the speech and the silence, and the speech therein. And thy perfume is a pure ambergris that is not weighed against the finest gold of the fine gold. Also, thy coils are of infinite range. The heart that thou dost encircle is a universal heart. I and me and mine were sitting with lutes in the marketplace of the great city, the city of the violets and the roses. The night fell, and the music of the lutes was stilled. The tempest arose, and the music of the lutes was stilled. The hour passed, and the music of the lutes was stilled. But thou art eternity in space. Thou art matter in motion, and thou art the negation of all these things. For there is no symbol of thee. If I say, come up upon the mountains, the celestial waters flow at my word. But thou art the water beyond the waters. The red three-angeled heart hath been set up in thy shrine, for the priests despise equally the shrine and the God. Yet all the while thou wast hidden therein, as the Lord of silence is hidden in the buds of the lotus. Thou art Sabek, the crocodile against Ashar. Thou art Mati, the slayer in the deep. Thou art Typhon, the wrath of the elements. O thou who transcendest the forces in their concourse and cohesion, in their death and in their disruption. Thou art Python, the terrible serpent about the end of all things. I turned me about thrice in every way, and always I came at the last unto thee. Many things I beheld, meditate and immediate, but beholding them no more, I beheld thee. Come thou, O beloved one, O Lord God of the universe, O vast one, O minute one, I am thy beloved. All day I sing of thy delight, all night I delight in thy song. There is no other day or night than this. Thou art beyond the day and the night. I am thyself, O my maker, my master, my mate. I am like the little red dog that sitteth upon the knees of the unknown. Thou hast brought me into great delight. Thou hast given me of thy flesh to eat, of thy blood for an offering of intoxication. Thou hast fastened the fangs of eternity in my soul, and the poison of the infinite has consumed me utterly. I am become like a licentious devil of Italy, a fair strong woman with worn cheeks, eaten out with hunger for kisses. She hath played in the diverse palaces, she hath given much. She has fallen like with strong venom. She has been scourged with many rods. She hath been broken in pieces upon the wheel. The hands of the hangman have bound her unto it. The fountains of water have been loosed upon her. She hath struggled with exceeding torment. She hath burst in sunder with the weight of the water. She hath sunk into the awful sea. So am I, O Adonai, my Lord, and as such are the waters of thine intolerable essence. So am I, O Adonai, my beloved, and thou hast burst me utterly in sunder. I am shed out like spilt blood upon the mountains. The ravens of desperation have borne me utterly away. Therefore is the seal unloosed that guarded the eighth abyss. Therefore is the vast sea as a veil. Therefore is there a rending asunder of all things. Yea, also verily thou art the cool still water of the wizard font. I have bathed in thee and lost me in thy stillness. That which went in as a brave boy of beautiful limbs cometh forth as a maiden, as a little child for perfection. O thou light and delight, ravish me away with the milky ocean of the stars. O thou son of the light, transcending mother, blessed be thy name and the name of thy name throughout the ages. Behold, I am a butterfly at the source of creation. Let me die before the hour, falling dead unto thine infinite stream. Also the stream of the stars flowed ever majestical unto the abode. Bear me away upon the bosom of Nuit. This is the world of the waters of Mime. This is the bitter water that becometh sweet. Thou art beautiful and bitter, O golden one, O my Lord Adonai, O thou abyss of sapphire. I follow thee. And the waters of death fight strenuously against me. I pass unto the waters beyond death and beyond life. How shall I answer the foolish man? In no way shall he come to the identity of thee. But I am the fool that heedeth not the play of the magician. Me doth the woman of the mysteries instruct in vain. I am the burst the bonds of love and of power and of worship. Therefore is the eagle made one with the man, and the gallows of infamy dance with the fruit of the just. I have descended, O my darling, into the black shining waters, and I have plucked thee forth as a black pearl of infinite precisionness. I've gone down, O my God, into the abyss of the all, and I found thee in the midst under the guise of no thing. But as thou art the last, thou art also the next, and as the next do I reveal thee to the multitude. They that ever desired thee shall obtain thee even at the end of their desire. Glorious, glorious, glorious art thou, O my lover supernal, O self of myself, for I have found thee alike in the me and the thee. There is no difference, O my beautiful, my desirable one. In the one and the many I have found thee. Yea, I have found thee. Thank you, and amen.
Thank you so much, Colin. That was truly beautiful. I can only hope that your speaking of the dead can relieve those who are in need of spiritual guidance and who need that energy and remembrance and a warm embrace. This officially commences the Transgender Day of Remembrance event through the Solano Pride Center. Thank you all for coming and for joining us in honoring those who need to be recognized. If you are in need of help during this difficult time, please reach out to a friend or to the center. Thank you and good night.